All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons, and today I'm here with my good friend GB. If you want to say what up, real quick.
What up?
So this is a tale of trials and tribulations. I started getting a bunch of comments on my channel to debunk this OfficialDivine Superman vs. Goku. And if you guys don't know, I'm not really involved in the community, so I don't know many other power scalers besides like Lumos and a couple others. I just don't associate with the community as much. Most of my YouTube stuff is sports related. So I was at work, and at first I thought it was like someone cutting a promo for their boy. So I was like, I'm not interested. And then a bunch of people started commenting like, no, look, like you really got to go see this shit. You'll want to debunk it. So I sent it to GB, and I was like, I'm at work. Take a look at this. Let me know if we should debunk it. GB watches it, and he started getting more and more annoyed with the representation of Superman in the DC cosmology. And by the way, guys, before any idiot gets in the comments and acts like this is a personal attack, we're coming straight just for content today. We're just talking about what's presented in video. Don't know these guys personally. It doesn't matter to me. Y'all go support their channel, all that. I'm not here to spread negativity. I'm just correcting the record. Because a couple of his fans came to my channel and telling me I'm lying about DC. So they can suck a dick. We're going to get into this. Now, the thing that's crazy, first off, is trying, and it's a nasty trend in general, of trying to downplay the DC entire cosmology to 6-dimensional. Like, that's it, 6D, like multi-complex. Now, that's crazy because in this same video where they try to push this narrative, they are bringing up pre-crisis, post-crisis, rebirth, all these different places that draw upon different evidence and examples of the cosmology in DC. So let's go over some key words that dunk on the notion of 6D. First of all, there's countless examples of there being infinite dimensions. 8th dimension, 10th dimension, 12th dimension, 13th dimension, in relation to spatial temporality. So to have so many examples of this, how could you possibly be 6D? You have to literally start ignoring shit. And the reason this is important is they didn't keep it just Infinite Frontier and on, which I did in my Superman video. Go check out Infinite Frontier Superman, where I just discussed basically 2021 and on. They were using pre and post crisis. I could literally pull up with just 1992 Jonathan Ostrander Spectre run and fuck your life up if you're trying to downplay DC. So many examples of being beyond dimensions, being beyond concepts, being beyond abstracts like the dreaming containing infinite layers within itself, the infinite cytoplasm in the layers of hell itself, and that even applies to the first layer. To go beyond all human language. If you guys didn't know that, human language is what we use for descriptors. Why is that important? We use words like dimensions, transcending, abstract, concepts. These levels in DC are far beyond that, to the place that we can't properly describe them. So we use what we call placeholders to do our best to describe it. For example, a dimension beyond dimension is technically not a dimension. It's not bound by that, but you have to call it something. You can't just say nothing. That's like if I tried to use name fallacies in Heroes, it's called the real world, right? Where they try to talk about fictional transcendence. What if I just said that's a world? That's just a planet. And that's crazy talk. You wouldn't do that, but apparently people do it with the DC side, and it's really annoying to see because you can't logically justify DC being 6D. I don't give a fuck what Versus Battle says, because at the same time they're using Versus Battle standards, they use speed tiers Versus Battle doesn't even accept anymore. So it's like, whoa, you got a little too much dip on your chip. But they came at DC in such an uneducated way, and I know OfficialDivine didn't technically present it, but it is his video. Maybe he doesn't know anything about Superman. I mean, he said he started talking about lifting feats with Superman, and then like brought up Nebula Man, like that's one of the strongest things Superman's ever done. That's not even top 100. So hey, to each his own. But before I get too busy with the ranting, GB's the one that watched it first. He has a lot to say about it, so I'm gonna pass it off to him to hear what he has to say.
All right, so All right, so my main issue with Drip Sauce's presentation of DC's cosmology is he opens up swinging crazy, Deontay Wilder, right? Brings out the World Forger feat, says World Forger was nerfed to a 3-dimensional level when Mr. Mixapitalik himself says the multiverse exists within 4 dimensions. This man nerfed himself below the multiverse. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't make sense. That off rip raised my eyebrow, and I can't even do that. So going into it further, using Mixie as a context, the World Forger is in the 6th dimension. Mixie needed the source wall to break and all of his energy to access, to open a door to the 6th dimension, which World Forger opens once the door appears. Now, this is important because when we see Mixie point to Grant Morrison's map, right? We're going to use Grant Morrison here because we have to. It's in the comic. Grant Morrison's map has nil existing within the source wall, home of the monitors, by the way. Why is he nerfed within reality when his home world, quote unquote, would have been within reality by Grant Morrison's map? Now, that's just a little piece of the cake. Mixie had to go beyond the source wall to access the 6th dimension. At least that's the implication, right? Because if the source wall isn't there, you're obviously trying to go beyond it. Like it wouldn't stop you from going on anywhere else. Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. But at bare minimum, we know there is no possible way this man should have been nerfed to a 3-dimensional level. If you want to say he nerfed himself to a 4th-dimensional level, okay, sure, I don't care at that point, whatever. But what makes even less sense is, as far as I know, as far as I remember, the fight took place in the 6th dimension. Why would he nerf himself to a 3-dimensional level in the 6th dimension? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's crazy. Somebody call Neil deGrasse Tyson. It doesn't make sense.
Big if true, for sure.
Yeah, like, it just doesn't make sense. And like Splash was touching on, when it comes to a lot of the fallacies or it's just overall semantics. When you're ignoring context and you're trying to apply your own interpretation, it becomes semantics. That's why when Drip Sauce is talking, he's using a lot of, well, it could possibly, and maybe it means, or perhaps it means. It's because these are his interpretations of what's being presented to him. Overall, though, we have examples of multiple religions existing in DC. We know that these religions apply their beliefs and cosmologies because of what we saw in the Lucifer run of the Dreaming from, I believe, 2018 or 2019.
Yeah, 2018 DC Black
I'm not
Label.
going to even... I'm not going to try to even pronounce that realm that he went to in Hindu mythology.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
Or Hindu religion. Yeah,
shout out to the Hindus. We ain't gonna do y'all dirty with trying to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But regardless, we know that these religions, these mythologies, apply their beliefs to the DC cosmology, and they take part of the DC cosmology. To say they don't is ridiculous. We also know that Darkseid, characters like Darkseid, target the very concept of what a hero is, what makes a hero, what brings a hero into existence. That's what he wants to target. He wants to conceptually erase heroes. We have examples of this, and not to mention we have examples of Mixie himself toying with someone like Darkseid. Mixie himself has multiple instances of fictional transcendence. This is not brought up, more times than not, this isn't brought up at all, to be honest, which I don't understand. But regardless, overall, the video came off as a lot of context ignoring and a lot of ignorance. Some of the things were just outright wrong, like the World Forger stuff. Overall, I mean, I don't have a problem with the Goku stuff. I honestly don't care. You want to put Goku at balance? Go for it. I don't care, bro. Ball out. But you cannot present so much misinformation, blatant misinformation, as fact. That's terrible. That's just terrible.
There was a crazy moment too where I was watching it where he brought up an author named Paul Jenkins. Shout out to Mr. Jenkins, the king of quotes. And they used Jenkins as evidence that like DC's not as strong as people think it is. When in that same tweet from Paul Jenkins, he literally says, "I doubt I'm the sole authority or have authority of this." He literally discludes himself from the conversation by saying, "Yo, just so you guys know, I probably don't have authority on how any of this works." On top of that, if you want to go author statement for author statement, I had Philip Kennedy Johnson on my channel for an exclusive interview. Philip himself is the current writer for Superman. And Philip verbatim stated that the statement which they tried to shit on, where Superman said space, time, dimensions, temperature, all that largely lost meaning to him, Action Comics 1050, that statement was literally true. I asked him very specifically, is that statement the real deal? He said, of course it is. Superman embodies the hope of being beyond corruption. Superman is supposed to be the idea that goes against the notion that all power all corrupts. He is supposed to be beyond all power because it shouldn't corrupt him. He is the man of hope. He is the son of Krypton. I even said, does this include the Source? Because he was powered by Genesis at one point, and he said that's not actually as strong as his real power. In Genesis, if you guys didn't know from the Warworld saga, which I know these guys didn't fucking read, that shit is literally compared to the Source itself, which is beyond all things, imagination, life, death, dualities, whatever you want to say. They bring up Platonism. No one's arguing Platonism in 2023. I'm sorry. We left that Plato shit years ago, because if you have to attack Platonism to downplay DC, you actually don't know what's going on in DC. You actually don't know how it functions. Platonism is the last thing you need to use, let alone try to debunk. That's not an argument anymore. That was an argument several years ago. It's not now because you don't need it. But getting back on topic, him being beyond the Source, him being beyond all those things because he's supposed to represent that idea of hope, that representation of all good. He's the big blue Boy Scout. How do you say that's 6D? How the hell do you downplay that with Paul Jenkins' statement when there's literal statements? Y'all can go, I know the audio is a little messed up, but y'all can go watch the Philip interview. Philip literally says, no, he's beyond all sources of power because that's what he needs to be as a concept. Just using such a author statement that literally the author discredits himself in that same sentence as being an authority, when we have author statements saying, nah, Superman was really getting down like that. Superman really scales that high because he has to. It's crazy to me. That's what do we even do at that point? Because you're not arguing something that's rooted in reality, to be honest, at all.
Yeah, it just comes off disingenuous. It comes off really dishonest. If you're not being polite, you could just outright call it rap.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that comes in regards to the Platonism stuff, Batman brings up ideas, and this is why context matters. Whenever you're scaling a verse, whenever you're presenting cosmology for a verse overall, you have to provide context. Batman says that these beings are like living ideas. We know this to be true at least in terms of the dreaming and in terms of Darkseid. We know this to be true from those two characters in particular. Darkseid himself has referenced that he's beyond descriptions for any type of mortal dictionary, things like that. I believe it was in Justice League Odyssey where he tells Cyborg this.
Yeah, he tells Cyborg, no word can apply to me. It's crazy. He literally says, the best thing you could possibly do to encapsulate what I am is maybe call me a villain. But he said there's no word you have to describe what I am conceptually. Which is crazy. That includes dimension, transcendence, everything. It's beyond that.
Yeah. Another thing too is, I'm pretty sure Splash will go over it soon here, but is the dimension thing. Say, oh, you don't have dimensions, and if you do have infinite dimensions, You don't have dimensions that stack. You don't have dimensions that serve as like a staircase. There's literal statements that Splash has showed me where that is exactly stated. But this context is ignored constantly, and people just brush it over because it doesn't fit their narrative. And like I said, context is important. When Batman's talking about living ideas, normally ideas and concepts are not kind of like lumped together. In DC, they are. If you embody an idea, it's kind of them referencing that you embody a concept. Like for example, Superman. There's a lot of statements where Superman embodies the concept of hope. There's more statements where he embodies the idea of hope. So it's kind of lumped together in the same thing, just like how Batman kind of lumped them together. And there's a lot of references for ideas being thrown around. Like especially if you read The Dreaming, there's a lot of references of ideas being thrown around. These are things that go beyond dimensions. These are things that go beyond the realm of imagination. And if I remember correctly, Lobo introduced death to literally introduced concepts. Like you got characters like Lobo introducing violence to the fifth dimension, a place where violence has no right being there.
Yeah, it was specifically a fun place. As a Lobo stan, I'll add to this. It literally states as Lobo's killing the imps. One of the imp generals says this is the realm of imagination. It's abstract. It's beyond the concept of death. You should not be able to kill imagination. That's literally stated. On top of this, when he talked about the dimension stuff, the reason this is important is they didn't keep it 2021 and on with Infinite Frontier. I am slightly going to accuse them. I don't think they've read much of modern DC. I didn't see much of it in the Superman breakdown. The World Forger, they called World Forger 3D. I guess the guy in the sixth dimension scales below the multiverse, even though he throws multiverses around. He would also be below the universe, even though his hammer produces you. Fuck it, we ball. But the dimension thing, going back, because they use pre-crisis, post-crisis, all that in their video. You bring that up. There's runs where there's 8th dimensional Supermen that literally states they're on a higher dimensional plane observing things. How are they 8D, but the cosmology is only 6D? Big if true. There's instances where Deadman was talking, I think it was Rasha Koshnu, but it might be someone else, and I probably fucked up that god's name. But she literally states there's innumerable dimensions and they stack on top of each other like steps. And something like the 3rd or 4th dimension is at the bottom of the steps, equivalent to like being at the bottom of the ocean. So they literally talk about the stacks of dimensions. There's myriads of dimensions, which means beyond infinite. There's 10th dimensional challengers in their tech. There's the 12th dimension. It mentions a 3rd spatial dimension. How? Literally how? Like, to debunk that, right? You have to literally say, hey, everybody, every fucking writer, every character, and every moment where you bring this up, they were gaslighting us. They were lying to us. How do you even, I don't know how you can honestly, and I'm serious, I don't know how you can honestly argue that. If I should, I'm the king of trying to hold on to a point. I used to be really bad about it. Me and GB argue all the time. He'll tell you that. I won't drop the point. But if you're showing me something that blatantly states something exists within that cosmology, I'm not going to argue it at that point because I'm a jackass. No, I can't say all these right. Just like you are claiming Paul Jenkins is an authority, I got another writer saying he's beyond all dimensions, time, space. Hope is beyond everything else. What are we doing here? It just comes across as a straight hate boner for Superman and DC Comics in general. And you have to do a lot of disingenuous shit to act like these statements, these scans, these comics don't exist. Go read 92 Ostrander Spectre, because first of all, it's one of the greatest runs ever. But if you read that and you say DC's not outer, suck my ass. We can hop on live immediately and go bar for bar on those feats, because that's what's just crazy talk. And we're trying to be nice, but you do have to kind of lie on purpose to downplay it at this point. And appealing to Versus Battle Wiki again, who introduced this stupid 6D shit, is ridiculous because the same Versus Battle took away statements that they were using. They talk about
the speed tiers are using.
Irrelevant speed. That's not on Versus Battle anymore. They said that's not a real thing. So it's kind of crazy to appeal to something that said you're lying in your video, but I digress. I don't know how you can. I'm trying to be nice, but it's like, man, like you have to go out of your way to downplay DC to this extreme of a degree. And by the way, that same supposed third dimensional, so he's not even like time, but ooh, that's so tough to say. Third dimensional world forger literally stated in all his time he had never seen anything like Superman. And if we're being rats about what's stated, they talked about Superman was amped. If they're saying Superman was amped by solar energy and sunlight, that same fucking scan, it says he's moving too fast for even sunlight, solar energy, physics, anything to touch him. So how is he amped if it can't touch him? Now what? I can play word games too. We could both look like assholes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it just gets ridiculous after like the more you, and you know, I don't even want to go further. Obviously, if we're talking about World Forger being three-dimensional, and we're having to explain that, you know, concepts do exist within DC, and there's characters that transcend them, and there's realms that transcend these concepts and things of that nature. If we have to explain the bare basics, I don't want to like go any deeper and try to confuse people. You know, I'm not trying to like jumble people's minds and things like that. But it's important to note that even if you did say DC is 6D, the context of what 6D is in DC is very different from conventional DC, use everyday science and stuff like that. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
It would be an appeal to reality. If you
were to apply everyday science, first of all, yeah. If you were to appeal to reality, it's crazy how you even got a 6-dimensional being to 3D when the multiverse is 4D, because it's highly debated if a 3-dimensional being can exist in a 4-dimensional.
How does a third dimensional being exist in the 6th dimension? It's crazy.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. These contradictions were just littered in. And once again, I'm not even trying to be like rude. I forgot the guy's name. The guy who owns the channel.
Divine. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, Divine. Once again, I don't care about Goku beating you. You want to scale Heroes Goku to balance? Go for it. Go Looney Tunes with it. Don't care. The Goku scaling was dope. But the DCs, stop it. Not to mention, I think bro had Zeno on the thingamajiggy, the thumbnail. It's obvious, just a DC hate boner. I don't care. Like I don't even see why people would even engage in like such biased content. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I've done shit like that to troll people. Like I did a Mori Jin one, but this was like a serious video from them, and it's one of those things where like y'all can join my Discord, and like I'm talking to the viewers and stuff. If they want to join and talk to me, sure, we can do that. We can set up a live stream too, and we can talk about this and post our facts. Me and GB post like a bunch of the DC shit. We'll probably just make a section and post all the outerversal stuff for DC that y'all need, the proof of infinite dimensions, myriad of dimensions, how they stack, being beyond dimensions, all these things. There's my interview with Philip Kennedy Johnson. There's my video on IF Superman. Y'all can go watch the whole bunch of stuff. And I find it funny because if you watch the history of my channel, I've always like, I'm not going to say I hate Superman, but I used to really not like him because he was just a win con. Like it was annoying to read. It wasn't fun for me. But I've gotten far into Superman now. I've read a bunch of other DC stuff. And every bit of evidence you use to put Heroes Goku at anything relevant, there's 10 times that in DC. Fictional transcendence, you want that? We got that. You want beyond dimensions? We got that. You want outerversal shit? We got that. You want stuff beyond the human language? We got that. Like, we got everything you need for the Lowski on the DC side. So overall, like I said, we don't care about the Goku stuff, It was just they literally came in swinging pretty much wrong on everything about Superman, and it was crazy to see. So I hope you guys enjoyed this debunk. I don't know if there's too much more we have to say. You guys can join the Discord, see the evidence for yourself. I'll be showing a bunch of scans in the video. And yeah, again, this is no hate. You can go check his channel out. Get like and subscribe to him, all that. It's no beef, but if it's a problem, we can meet up on Discord or another way to chat and talk about the scaling for each. I'm not even going to apply this scaling to Divine because he didn't represent anything. So maybe he just doesn't know, and his boy told him he had the sauce, bars, because his name's Drip Sauce, but it is what it is. Like, they put it out. We debunked it. I had people from his channel saying I was a liar. Stop it. Get some help. All I can do is show you evidence, and if you ignore it, I can't help you further.
There's something we should really put out there, and hopefully power scalers have to stop adding writers on Twitter and asking them trick questions just to get scaling. That's crazy. Like, if the comic book didn't give you it, you're not gonna get a writer statement to fix what the comic book didn't provide for you. Because at the end of the day, writer statements are easily contradicted by source material, and more times than not, they are contradicted by source material. So it's pointless to even ask these writers. Most of the time, these writers some of them have kind of caught on to the power scalers, and they kind of just respond.
I've been caught. I literally, Philip told me. Yeah, Philip was like, yeah, this happens all the time. People try to get us to give them specific statements, and it's ultimate. Like, he literally said, it's up to the fans to decide. Like, that's y'all's journey, not ours.
Yeah. Like, it's just going on Twitter or any media and trying to contact a writer and ask him a trick question is one ratty do outside saying that Forger is 3D. It's pointless.
Yeah, I mean, in court it would be dismissed as like poisoning the well or leading on the witness. Like, it's pretty bad. Like, when I have my interviews, it's me giving them first of all, we don't always talk about scaling, but it's like me giving them a chance to explain their thoughts behind the writing and stuff. It's just Paul. I mean, the Paul shit's crazy because I have Philip on here saying Superman's beyond all that, and Philip is the current writer for Superman, and which Paul said he's not the sole authority, and he was proven right. I agree with that. Don't try to lead authors on and then get a gotcha question or a gotcha statement from them, because a lot of times, and they've said it on my channel before, they're just trying to answer fans, and a lot of times they'll say, I don't know how to answer that, I'm not quite sure, or they'll even say stuff like Paul Jenkins said, I'm not the sole authority. Because these authors, newsflash, aren't the editors. The editors are the ones telling them ultimately what shape they're going with DC. They might let them work with a character, but you still got to boogie within the confines of the material being presented in the grander scheme. So I agree with that. That last statement from GB. Do you have anything else before we close it out?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, and again, if you guys think I'm lying, like some of the people that commented said, just join my Discord and we'll show you the scans. We can go bar for bar, feet for anti-feet. I don't care. I'm confident in the work put in. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons with my guy GB here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see y'all later. Peace.